Welcome, my name is Wendy and today we're going to look at the crops on Scotland's Ark of Taste. And this is a beautiful crop I have right here. This is Orkney bear meal. Now bear is an ancient form of 6-row barley and it's very specific to its region. So there is a Hebridean bear and a Shetland bear and they're actually all very individual. But it's the Orkney bear that you can buy at the moment, and the mill is powered by water and is owned by a community trust. So it's a lovely place to visit, Barony Mill, and this is the bear. And it's got a darker grain than you normally see on grain, quite chocolatey coloured. And when you harvest it, it should look a little bit darker. It should definitely look a sort of nutty brown. And when you harvest it with a binder, then you want it just like that. And if you're combining it, you wait a little bit later. But the only place that's selling it commercially is on Orkney, and it has a lovely nutty flavour and it's quite a brown flour. As you can see, it's a little bit more golden than your wheat flour. And I really recommend it, it's delicious. This is some that my husband proudly grew in our kitchen garden. And one of the things that would have been done with it traditionally for thousands of years would have been bear bannocks. So this is typically the bread of the Northern Isles and the Highlands of Scotland. And these bannocks are a little bit like scones. They're cooked off in a dry pan or even straight onto a girdle or onto your hob. And here they are, and they're really delicious. And they've got a slightly scone texture and a lovely nutty brown colour. Really delicious. Served warm with crowdy or butter or homemade jam, cheese. They're really lovely. So that's the bear meal. It's also lovely added into recipes, so you might substitute some of your flour with some bear into a pastry mix or into a bread, and it's really lovely. So we also have some heritage grains of wheat in Scotland. This is again some we grew in our own kitchen garden. This is a spring wheat, and spring wheat was very cherished for baking cakes and baking breads. It was the spring wheat that was always thought to be superior. And thanks to some dedicated people in Scotland, there is Golden Drop, Rouge d'Ecosse and Hunter's wheat growing in Scotland in Fife for the first time in a century. And of course, breaking bread is a sign of peace, and there's so many lovely bread recipes. You can make pizzas, sourdoughs, soda bread, any kind of bread. And these landrace wheats and the bear are very, very nutritious, because what you find with a lot of modern grains is that they may be bred for whiskey or for beers or for commercial breads, and actually they don't have the same taste and flavours and nutrition as these lovely heritage grains do. So I would urge you to seek out these heritage grains. So what else can you do with them? Well, a classic in Scotland is the shortbread, which is a sweet dough mix and often baked in a traditional mould like this, and it's really delicious. And there's all sorts of tales related to the shortbread, of the bride breaking it and sleeping with it under her pillow and dreaming of her love, and all sorts of romantic tales about shortbread. But it has a lot of traditions here in Scotland. And this is the Selkirk bannock. Now this is an enriched bread dough with fresh fruit, all natural ingredients, named after the border town of Selkirk, which is near where Sir Walter Scott, the famous writer, lived. And the first time Selkirk bannock is mentioned is in 1819, when it was said to be Queen Victoria's favourite, and she had it when she had afternoon tea with Sir Walter Scott. And there was a real stushy, which is a Scots word for a fight, when we put the Selkirk bannock on the Ark, because there are a lot of Selkirk bannocks about, but they have E-numbers and margarine and stabilisers to increase their shelf life, and of course they are not what we want on the Ark of Taste. And the family baker's firm that make this old-fashioned proper Selkirk bannock are on to their 7th generation now, and they're very generous with the recipes, so get in touch with us if you would like to, and I can get the recipe for you. You might notice that these are rather dinky, and if you know anything about the Selkirk bannock, you might know that actually it's about this size with a lovely dome on top, and these are little miniatures. And that was for a reason. These were made specially for our Scottish Parliament so that the MSPs could have a taste of the real Ark of Taste Selkirk bannock, and they loved it. So that's why they're little toy-size ones on this occasion. So in Scotland we've got the Selkirk bannock, we have the Aberdeen buttery, shortbread, bear bannocks, we have oatcakes of course that everybody's heard of, but we have got these lovely heritage grains and they are worth celebrating. Last but not least we have peas meal. Now peas meal is field peas that are dried and roasted and passed through mills, and again it's a water mill and it's up at Golspie that has brought back these old ancient skills and producing peas meal once again. It's really delicious and nutritious and it's got a lot of uses. Here it is as dumplings on some Highland beef actually, but it also works beautifully with a vegetarian meal, anywhere where you've got a lovely rich sauce underneath that can add flavour to the dumplings and be absorbed by the peas meal. It works really nicely. It's also good when you add it as an ingredient to your breads. It gives a lovely honey colour and some extra nutrition, and also you can use it to bread and crumb fish instead of breadcrumbs. You can just dust the fish with the peas meal instead and it really is delicious. So there's some recipe ideas for you. The recipes are on my website, and either source these lovely grains from the producers in Scotland, or even source some seed and try growing some yourself. We've had great fun in our kitchen garden growing some of these heritage grains. We borrowed a mill from a good friend, and it's fantastic to get a kilo or two of your very own flour and bake off some bread or some rolls. So whether you grow it or support our local producers, give it a try, because our Scottish crops, when they are the heritage grains and the heritage legumes, they are nutritious, delicious, they're healthy for us, and they're so much better than the modern varieties.